missed a little bit. A lot of athletes are losing performance before it even starts, and that is due to their hydration. Hi, I'm Dr. Jay Phillips, professional goalie, Dr. Physical Therapy. This is number 2 of my 30 and 30 tips for hockey players to have the best offseason of their life. I'm the first to say it, not a hydration expert. There are people whose job it is to look at your blood levels, your mineral status, all those things, and come up with a protocol. However, I have worked with a lot of athletes, and these are the kind of the guidelines I'm going to follow. If you really want a specific tailored plan, there are experts out there. If you're looking just for some quick actual steps that are going to work for about 80% to 90% of all athletes, well, here you go. When we think about performance and training, we usually think of the easy ones, the nutrition, the sleep, the training itself, on the ice, off the ice. But hydration is usually more of an afterthought. And when I talk to a lot of athletes, it's usually a given. They go, oh yeah, I drink water. Well, this video isn't just about chugging water at the game or chugging water between shifts or after you give up a goal or between the whistles. This is about what are you doing 1, 2, 3 days before in order to make sure your body is 100% hydrated so you're giving yourself the best opportunity to perform. But first, let's talk about what dehydration does to your body. And this one, for you goalies out there, and actually for the players, for everybody, is being dehydrated lowers your reaction. In fact, up to 1 to 2% body weight loss in water. So if you're a 200-pound athlete, we're looking at 1 to 2 pounds of sweat, which really isn't nothing. We think about how hockey players lose 10 to 15 pounds per session on the ice, can impair your reaction time by up to 10%. Now, if you're a goalie, obviously reaction time is super important. But when we associate reaction time for players, we usually don't think of the downstream consequences. So if you're a forward and you're skating through the neutral zone and someone gives you a pass, you have to process picking up that pass while keeping your head up so that you're not getting blown up through the middle. Well, if your processing time's 10% slower, there's a pretty good chance that you take that hit. Next thing you know, you're on the ice or in concussion. I see you in my treatment room. We're doing concussion rehab, all because your hydration wasn't where it needed. Better not see any of you athletes here with concussions just because of hydration. Let's not forget about fatigue. The more dehydrated you are, the more fatigued you're going to be, the worse you're going to perform because your body basically is working overtime to make up for that lack of hydration. Now, the more fatigued you are, the worse your performance, Next thing you know, you're healthy scratched. You're sitting in the stands, you're eating popcorn, you're crying because someone else has taken your job and now you're not playing. And next thing you know, you're like me and you have to retire and go do something else in life. Okay, I don't know if I like that shot, but anyways, different angles. Third, we're talking about muscle cramps and tightness. Now, I will have a video on cramps itself because cramps are super cool because no one really knows what causes cramping. Dehydration is one of the hypotheses, and you know what? Probably contributes to it. So if it does contribute, well, the more dehydrated you are, more cramps, worse performance. Also tightness. Our muscles are elastic. Our body's 80% water. Just think of it like a raisin. A raisin or a grape. A raisin is a dehydrated grape. You know, a raisin doesn't have much elasticity. It's all pruny, it's all wrinkly. Whereas a hydrated grape, human in this case, is going to have more tissue elasticity, is going to be able to perform better. I don't know if I like that grape raisin analogy, same thing. Hopefully you get it. But the more dehydrated you are, the less elastic you're going to be. So goalies, come on. Timing of your hydration matters too. And it isn't just when you start to get thirsty. There's that classic saying where if you're already thirsty, if you start to feel thirsty, it's too late, you're already hydrated. And there is some truth to that. At the very latest, we want to start to drink 12 to 16 ounces of water 2 to 3 hours before we play. And then another 12 to 16 ounces, 20 to 30 minutes before our actual activity. We want to be sipping water or some sort of sports drink throughout the entire duration, making sure that we are constantly replenishing what we've lost. Now, when it comes to sports drinks, or whether we're talking about Gatorade, Powerade, or any other non-sugar alternative that kind of are popular right now, remember, there is value to that. We need to make sure that we're not just drinking water, but we are supplementing with different electrolytes, especially when we are athletes. We want to make sure we're supplementing with different electrolytes through those sports drinks because we do lose a lot of those minerals in our sweat. But again, I'm going to save that for a little bit more of a science-based video coming up in the future. And finally, the rehydration status is ultra important. Most people watching this are not playing one single game a day. When you're a younger athlete, you're playing multiple games a day. If you don't rehydrate after that first bout of exercise, then you're going to be dehydrated for the next and the next and the next. Now, I know not everyone has the privilege of having their own dressing room and all these things, but if you do have your own dressing room at a rink, make sure you put a body weight scale in there. The scale is a great way for you to measure your body weight before your exercise and then your body weight after. Whatever that difference in weight is going to be your loss in water. So it gives you an idea how much you need to replenish after you lost it. There is also some nutritional things in there too, but I'll give you the TLDR right now. Essentially in your sweat, you're losing a lot of sodium, magnesium, potassium. As well, you want to maintain good blood glucose levels, which is why a lot of sports drinks have sugar, and most sports drinks should have sugar to some degree. Without these essential minerals, just to name a few, you're not going to have proper nerve firing and nerve signaling, because if you pay attention in high school biology, you're looking at calcium channels, sodium channels. Those are responsible for muscle contraction, nervous system firing, basically helping power our body. Some signs that you're already dehydrated are 1, feeling thirsty, 2, feeling lightheaded, 3, cramping, 4, muscle weakness, lightheaded, anything like that. That was more than 4, but all those signs are typically symptoms of dehydration. And as an athlete, you should also be monitoring your urine. If your urine is dark yellow, something's wrong. Or if your urine is clear all the time, it means you're actually overhydrated and you can be urinating out some of those important minerals. One of the easiest things you can do, especially as a younger athlete, is just to make sure you have a water bottle on hand and you're sipping it at all times, especially when you're sitting in school. You can have a water bottle on your desk. There's so many different types of water bottle. You know, most athletes carry around a Gatorade bottle to signify that they're athletes, but I don't care if it's a Yeti, a Stanley, or the ceramic mug you made your grandma when you were 5 years old. Just have something that you can sip water on continuously throughout the entire day. This was a pretty simple explanation and breakdown of hydration. Like I said at the start, if you want really specific things, there are services out there where you can get your blood drawn and they measure it. Do you need that? No, probably not, unless there's some sort of condition where you are constantly or chronically dehydrated. That I would say reach out to an expert. But for the most part, almost all athletes will be able to get away with just following the basics, making sure they're drinking plenty of time before, during, rehydrating after, and mixing in some sort of sports drink. And I do want to have a little bit of sugar in there. If you're a person that avoids processed sugar, whatever, but make sure whether that's honey, maple syrup, something to help replenish the glucose levels, because also glucose, as it enters the cell, carries a lot of minerals with us. And when I make another video about creatine, which I made earlier, but I'm going to add it again because, hey, why not? Having carbohydrates with that makes it, according to some literature, shows that the body absorbs it better. Well, if you enjoyed this video, click here. You'll probably like this one, or don't. I don't care. I'm not your dad. So this has been 30 and 30, number 2. See everyone for number 3.